Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Gopal Raj, Jaya Gopal Raj, Jaya Gopal Raj, Jaya Gopal Raj. Jaya Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
So soon, huh? Not bad. Not bad at all. Different topic, though. Go ahead. Computer stand is not working. Okay, the topic plan, let's see how it works, but the plan is the topic will be personalities from Canto 1 Srimad Bhagavatam. Sounds good? Yeah? That's not the right place. Here we go. Wow, what happened? That's Chinese. Here we go. The plan is we'll begin with the speaker and then the listener. So we'll start with Sukadeva Goswami. The microphone stand has its own mind. What?
Another mic stand is coming. Okay.
Why? Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatade Satarine Jaya Sri Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. So we're going to hear a little bit about the background as well as his speaking of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a very interesting background. Of course, Sukadeva Goswami for 7 days, but he had a whole long history besides his 7 days of speaking Srimad Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit along the bank of the Ganga. Now, everybody likes controversy, right? You don't like controversy? You don't like controversy. Okay. Okay, we'll bring up any controversy. This is a verse from Canto 1, chapter 19. When he was assured of his death on a fixed date, he, that's Maharaj Parikshit, became more determined in transcendental loving service to Lord Krishna by complete fasting on the banks of the transcendental river Yamuna. So that's the controversy. Which was it? Was he on the bank of the Yamuna or was he on the bank of the Ganga? Huh? Well, there's different, this is the Bhagavatam, which flows down by the capital of Hastinapura. Next, this is Jiva Goswami commentary. Next to Kurukshetra, in the northern part of the adjoining forest is Shukratal along the Ganga, where Sukadeva Goswami sat beneath a banyan tree in the midst of 80,000 sages with no amplification system, and spoke the Bhagavatam to King Parikshit. Now that's Mahabharata, but here's Srimad Bhagavatam. And Sukadeva Goswami says about the next verse, his commentary, that the king took shelter on the bank of the Yamuna appears to be more accurate because of the geographical situation. Maharaj Parikshit resided in his capital, Hastinapur, and the river Yamuna flows down past the city. Naturally, the king would take shelter of the river Yamuna because she was flowing past his palace door. Flip a coin, right? Controversy. That's what a way to start, huh? How old was Sukadeva Goswami when he spoke Srimad Bhagavatam? Well, if you answer, the check the box kind of answer, he was 16. Well, he wasn't 16. Let's hear. Here are some events which took place long before the departure of Maharaj Parikshit, which was when Sukadeva Goswami spoke Srimad Bhagavatam. He was present at the passing of Grandfather Bhishma. Sukadeva Goswami was present during the passing of Grandfather Bhishma. From Mahabharata, it is understood that he was also present in the royal assembly of Maharaj Yudhisthira. Also, Canto 6, Chapter 3, it is said Sukadeva Goswami heard the history of a Jamila from Agastya Muni in the Malay Hills, which was long ago. Sukadeva Goswami remained for 16 years within the womb of his mother. He did not want to be entangled in false bodily identification. After cultivating such knowledge within the womb of his mother, he came out at the end of 16 years. That's how long he was in the womb, but then he did a bunch of other things. Immediately left home so that he might not be captured by the influence of Maya. That's Prabhupada's purport in the Kapila Dev section. Oops, excuse me. Yet, 1:19-26, which describes the arrival of Sukadeva in the presence of Parikshit Maharaj just prior to the king's demise, indicates the son of Vyasadeva was only 16 years old. But it means he looked as if 16. That's what the meaning is. Dvi ashta, 2 times 8 is 16. So it appears to be a contradiction. So dasha varsha vyasakam iva, that's the key word. He was situated as if 16 years old. So one commentator, Giridhari Lal Goswami, in his commentary, explains this in his Bhagavatam commentary. Here's Bhakti Siddhanta. In the Puranas, we find 2 conclusions regarding the appearance of Sukadeva. One story says that he took the form of Shuka from the Arani wood after Vyasa saw the naked Apsara Gritachi. The other story says that he was born from the womb of the wife of Vyasa. Now, what a way to start, controversy. Hey, you had me to speak. The original identity of Sukadeva Goswami. Now, this is from Ananda Vrindavan Champu, and it's not found elsewhere. We've all heard the story. Say yes, yes. Have you heard the story? A parrot of Radha? Here's the story. Radha's parrot, Shuka, used to sit on her left hand while she would affectionately feed him the seeds from a pomegranate fruit. And she had him say Krishna's name. She would pet him affectionately, telling him, Bolo Krishna, Bolo Krishna. One day, Ananda Vrindavan Champu says, Shuka, Radha's parrot, flew away to Nandagram to Krishna, who was with his friend, Madhavangal and others. Then Shuka very sweetly began to utter, Krishna, Krishna, right in Krishna's ear. The parrot spoke again, Oh, I am very wretched and unfortunate. I am Kritagya. Kritagya, ungrateful. And don't recognize the good qualities of anyone, for I have left my mistress and have come here. Krishna at once took the parrot, who was Srimati Radhika's own, in his hand and began to fondle him, the male parrot. After Krishna manifest Leela ended, by the order of Krishna, the parrot destined to manifest Srimad Bhagavatam remained in this world. Later, he, the parrot, entered the mouth of Vyasadev's wife and remained for 16 years. Now, I spent a fair amount of time, like substantial amount of time. It's not referenced anywhere else. It's a popular story. It's not narrated anywhere else. But Kavi Karnapur is authoritative source. Gaura Goda Desh Deepika, he's the author of, and other texts. He's an authoritative person, Ananda Vrindavan Champu. In a day of Brahma, there's a previous life of Sukadeva Goswami, according to the moksha dharma of Mahabharata and from Skanda Purana. And here's this reference. Lord Shiva spoke Srimad Bhagavatam to Parvati. Skanda Purana. Parvati was not so attentive and began to slumber. Lord Shiva began to reflect that this ignorant bird had heard the Bhagavatam, but would simply repeat it as parrots are prone to do, and thus make a mockery of the great message of Bhagavatam. Lord Shiva thus decided to terminate the parrot. So, with Kusagrass, the parrot flew towards Vyasadev's ashram. The parrot flew into the womb of Vyasadev's wife, Vatika. Shuka remained in the womb of Vyasadev's wife for 16 years until Krishna persuaded him to come out. And then, in another kalpa, here's the Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 21. Very detailed. This is purport. This is Prabhupada's writing. Sukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, is described in great detail in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana. There it is said that Vyasadeva maintained the daughter of Jabali as his wife, and that after they'd performed penances together for many years, he placed his seed in her womb. The child remained in the womb of his mother for 12 years. And when the father asked the son to come out, the son replied that he would not come out unless he was completely liberated from the influence of Maya. Vyasadeva then assured the child that he would not be influenced by Maya, but the child did not believe his father, for the father was still attached to his wife and children. Vyasadeva, this is Prabhupada's purport. Vyasadeva then went to Dwarka and informed the personality of Godhead about his problem. And the personality of Godhead, at Vyasadeva's request, went to Vyasadeva's cottage, and where he assured the child in the womb that he would not be influenced by Maya. Thus assured, the child came out. 3 different versions. Take your pick. Different days of Brahma. That's the easy way out. Oh, Vyas, your son speaks attractively like a parrot. He should be called Shuka. So he wasn't 16 when he spoke, but he was as if 16. That's an established fact. Sukadeva Goswami, after he came out of the womb of his mother, this is described in Canto 1, Chapter 2. He left. And the painting shows his father was running after him. Come back, come back. And what was the reply? The echo of his voice up the trees, that, according to the Bhagavatam. No reply from Sukadeva. And he disappeared. And it said specifically that he passed by a lake where ladies were bathing, and they saw Sukadeva pass by, although he was naked. They didn't clothe themselves, but when they saw Vyasa, who was a grahastha, they clothed themselves, because he makes these distinctions, whereas Sukadeva was an impersonally liberated, Brahman-realized living entity who was very cautious about Maya. So what did his father do? His father had servants or disciples, and he sent those disciples into the forest with certain verses of the Bhagavatam, just reciting the verses, because who knows where Sukadeva was, somewhere off in the forest. So reciting, and the plan worked. Sukadeva Goswami was very attracted, not to something material, but something fully spiritual. Because of something fully spiritual, he left to come back to hear more. And he sat at the feet of Vyasadeva, and he heard the rest of Srimad Bhagavatam from Vyasadeva, along with many other sages. This is indicating the same. So there's Sukadeva Goswami having heard from Vyas very attentively. And you see from the painting, there's flower petals falling from the sky. The demigods are honoring Sukadeva Goswami. Some of the petals are even falling on his hair. And at this transcendental, what the main message here? aside from different days of Brahma. The main message is the topics of Srimad Bhagavatam are not material. Although they're about people doing things, and when it's easy, it's quite natural by conditioning to think this is material. You know, Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, and you know his so many things. Is making palaces and marrying and doing stuff. One may think it's material, but Sukadeva Goswami wasn't interested. It wasn't like just he was averse to anything material. And for that reason, the transcendental literature, which Sukadeva Goswami spoke because he heard it directly from his father, and then spoke it directly to Maharaj Parikshit, it's all on the transcendental platform. So now comes glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam, which means glorification of Sukadeva Goswami. Prabhupada writes in his Bhaktivedanta Purports, Canto 2, Chapter 8, Srimad Bhagavatam is certainly a very dear scripture for all the devotees of the Lord, but it is auspicious even for the non-devotees also, because it explains that even the non-devotees hovering under the spell of the material energy can be delivered from such clutches if they hear the narration of Srimad Bhagavatam with devotion and attention from the right source, representing the Lord by disciplic succession. Prabhupada had faith in this message, and therefore, regardless of the audience, strongly, convincingly, and from many, many different angles, and repeating himself to make sure his audience understood his points, received the message. Here's a book published under the name of Bhaktisiddhanta. It's more his lectures than his own writing. Even if all the books in the world were burned, there would be no harm, provided one treatise was left, Srimad Bhagavatam. Even if thousands of learning centers were abolished, there would be no feeling of inconvenience, provided the reading and teaching of Srimad Bhagavatam continued. There are no other books in the world like Srimad Bhagavatam. This is not mere tittle-tattle, which is Bhaktisiddhanta's unique language. We don't use that so much, but it was like apparently a little popular during his time. Tittle-tattle, like nonsense, or an exaggerated homage. If one reflects on it as a truly impartial judge, one will realize that there has not been, nor will there ever be, a book like Bhagavatam. That's Bhaktisiddhanta. And here's Bhakti-Vinod. The Bhagavat and the Bhagavat, Bhagavatam and Bhakti-Vinod. Okay. From Pranava came Gayatri. From Gayatri came the Vedas. From the Vedas came Brahma Sutra. And from Brahma Sutra came Srimad Bhagavatam, which has brightly arisen like a Satchitananda sun. Those who have eyes should see. Those who have ears should hear. Those who have mind should meditate on the topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. His direct writing. Here's Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami was born in a Brahmin family. When he was a young Brahmin boy, another Brahmin appeared to him in a dream and blissfully gave him a Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, it's not like printed, there was no printing presses at that time. So it was a hand-written Srimad Bhagavatam. When he woke up, he was perturbed. Then, later that morning, the same Brahmana came and gave him the Srimad Bhagavatam. When he obtained the Bhagavatam, Sanatana Goswami became ecstatic and merged into the ocean of prema. After this incident took place, Sanatana Goswami began reading Bhagavatam daily for the rest of his life. So the Bhagavatam is coveted literature, but here's some different manifestation. Now, this is the topic is Sukadeva Goswami, but he's particularly known to us for his reciting Srimad Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit. We know what happened to Maharaj Parikshit after he spoke. What happened to Sukadeva Goswami after he spoke? Let's see. This is from the Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 4, again, Canto 12, Chapter 13, again, Chapter 2, Chapter 9. Narayan spoke to Lord Brahma. Narayan, or Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, the Supreme Lord, spoke directly to Lord Brahma. Then Brahma spoke to Narada. Narada spoke to Vyas. Vyas compiled the Bhagavatam, and then having compiled the Bhagavatam, he spoke to Sukadeva Goswami, disciplic succession method. So Sukadeva Goswami is a very important personality in our line. Our line goes from Vyas, Brahma, Narada, and then from Narada speaking this message to Vyasadeva. And Vyasadeva confirmed the understanding of the scriptures in the Bhagavatam to Madhvacharya. So that's our disciplic line. So Sukadeva Goswami is a very important person. And what I had planned was, during this time that I spend with all of you here, take principal personalities from Canto 1 Srimad Bhagavatam and speak something about each of those personalities. Now let's just have a quick little review. 1, a common understanding is that Sukadeva Goswami was 16 when he spoke Srimad Bhagavatam. So those of you who came a little bit late, you missed it. He was as if 16, because he had bodily features that looked as if he was 16. But he was present during the passing of grandfather Bhishma. He was present at the talks with Yudhishthira and the Rajasuya Yagya. So he was present sometime before then. And when he spoke, he was matured in his realization, and not just 16. But it's just a detail, because it doesn't matter how old. One who knows the science of Krishna, that's the requirement, regardless of age, young or old or middle. And we also heard there are different descriptions, and the easiest one, the one that has very clear scriptural reference, is that Vyas was the father and his wife was the mother, and not a bird flew in his wife's mouth. There are some references, but they're obscure. Now, there was a series that I gave in China, and I said I'm not going to go through it because the Chinese devotees also know these stories. The Radharani's parrot and Sukadeva and Lord Shiva speaking the message of the Bhagavatam to Parvati. That's lesser known, but they have some idea. So because there was a parrot, while Lord Shiva was speaking, there was a parrot listening, and he didn't want the parrot to just give blank recitation because it wouldn't be conveyed properly. So he took a kusa grass, imbued it with a mantra, and threw the kusa grass, and the parrot flew away and flew into the mouth of, that's the Skanda Purana story. Having heard the Bhagavatam from Lord Shiva, that's that story. Shiva Purana, no, Skanda Purana. So there are different days. One explanation is different days of Brahma, different appearances. The Bhagavatam is very clear. The Bhagavatam isn't the parent story, the Bhagavatam is father, mother, son. Many years of austerities. And that, in the Bhagavatam specifically, 12 years, not 16 years. But that's okay. When he appeared, and he finally spoke Bhagavatam, he appeared after doing these other things, he appeared as if 16. So there are some details about the life of Sukadeva Goswami. Let's see if it's a short class. Let's see if, because from experience, here in Austin, you all like to ask lots of questions. So it's question time. Let's see if there's some discussion.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you for the class. So it looks like Sukadeva Goswami was very hesitant to come out of his mother's womb.
Yes.
For 16 years. What has happened in his previous life that made him do this, make him do this decision? Because in his previous life, he was Radharani's parrot, and he was with Krishna.
Let's leave those two stories to the side.
Okay.
Because another Vrindavan Champu, and it's a popular story, there's no other reference. So, leaving that narration to the side, and the Lord Shiva narration to the side, that's just the Bhagavatam narration. Then the question, it begs the question, how did he become Brahman realized within the womb of his mother? That's not the other stories. I researched a bunch. I didn't find an answer to that question. But something. But who? And there's no scriptural reference. So we don't make something because it makes sense that there's A, B, and C, but we don't have the reference for it. So we don't know. At least the research that I did, and I inquired from a number of learned persons, no scriptural reference. Good question. Natural question. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you for the wonderful class. I see that Sukadeva Goswami is painted sometime as blue, sometime as red. Is there any significance being blue color?
His bodily complexion is darkish. That's the description. I don't know, red, but darkish.
Okay.
Not same as Krishna, who Sham, but
Yeah,
it's darkish.
Yes, that's what I was coming to. Is there any connection with Krishna's color? Okay. There's one more question I have is that If somebody asks us which story we should be telling to them among all the
just
three.
the Bhagavatam. That's my answer. Okay. That we know. The Amala Pramana and Amala Purana, both. So it's the gold standard in narrations.
Okay, Maharaj.
If there's no other questions, then I'm going to go on to the next. We'll go to Maharaj Parikshit. Let me do this. Oh, it's not going. Okay. We'll start with different names. This is a longer presentation. Different names of Maharaj Parikshit. What does his name mean? You know the meaning? Parikshit? Examiner. You've heard that one? Yeah. Here's from Canto 1, Chapter 12. Purvam drishtam anudhyayan pariksheta. Because he constantly contemplated the Lord, whom he had seen in the womb, and searched for him among all men, he was famous as Parikshit, examiner in this world. In Canto 10, Chapter 86, there's a discussion about Arjuna kidnapping Subhadra. And you all know the story. Should I say the story? I think I should say the story. The story was, the background of Arjuna's pilgrimage is, during their exile in the forest, Kunti had a rule that the 5 brothers would each be with Draupadi for 1 month, and they had their private quarters, and the other 4 brothers wouldn't enter. So they would continue to have their intimacy and privacy and so forth. And on one particular occasion, Yudhishthira, it was the month for Yudhishthira to be with Draupadi. An alarmed Brahmana, greatly distressed Brahmana, came to Arjuna pleading for his protection because there were some dacoits, some robbers, that had stolen his cows and run off with the cows. So Arjuna was, Kshatriya, he's going to protect the Brahmana. And so he, without thinking, because his weapons were in the room where Yudhishthira and Draupadi were. And he had already gone in to get the weapons. And then he realized I violated our mother's law or rule. And so he went and took care, got the cows back, gave the cows to the Brahmana. The Brahmana was very satisfied and pleased. And then Arjuna said to Yudhishthira, I broke our mother's promise or our restriction. So I'm an offender and I need to purify myself, need to atone for this offense. He said, no, you were, the rule is there, and the exception to the rule is you're doing the duty of protecting an innocent Brahmana. That supersedes the rule. And Arjuna was determined So back and forth and back and forth. So he went on pilgrimage. And the long pilgrimage, for 1 year pilgrimage, but towards the end of the 1 year, because there's many things that happened in between, he was outside of Dwarka in Avantipur, and he heard of Subhadra. Krishna heard that Arjuna was there. So Krishna sent a messenger. And Krishna's idea was, you may be interested, I think she's interested in you. But you can't come in dressed as Arjuna. You have to come in kind of incognito. So when you come to Dwarka, don't come in as Arjuna with your bows and arrows. Come in as, as who you are. And I'll make arrangements that you can, because Subhadra, Balaram doesn't allow her out. He's my elder brother, and doesn't allow her to go out and about. And so Balaram likes to serve sadhus. So you come dressed as a brahmana, and we'll have you take a meal, and Subhadra will serve the meal, and she'll have a chance to see you, you'll have a chance to see her, and I'll privately ask her, what do you think? And a few times, and it was, yeah, I'm attracted. He didn't say who he was, but Krishna made a plan. Krishna's plan was, my brother wants her to marry someone else, but I don't like it. But he's my elder brother. So the best thing is you can kidnap. In fact, I'll give you my chariot. And once in a year, there's a family deity that's outside the palace. And she'll go to worship the deity. When that happens, bring the chariot, put it on the back of the chariot, and off you go. So that happened. Arjuna kidnapped Subhadra. The person who he had heard from about Subhadra, mentioned in Mahabharata, is Gada. Gada is, because Krishna, the royal family was very large, and Arjuna was one of his cousins, Uddhava was one of his cousins, he had a lot of cousins. So Gada was one of the cousins. And Gada was on the study under Drona, along with the Pandavas and others. So he heard from Gada about Subhadra. Later, because he married her, he had a son. And the son was Abhimanyu. And during the incognito period of after the 12 years, there was another 13th year, they were staying at Virat's kingdom, and Arjuna was a dance teacher. And something similar happened. You know that this is Mahabharata. Something similar happened. What was the something similar? There was a problem. The problem was Bhima smashed and pulverized the King Virat's wife's brother, with a long story. Mahabharata stories are really long. And that when the Kauravas heard, they're in their incognito year, there's only one person that could do this, to smash this powerful warrior, the commander, the chief warrior in King Virat's army. He made into like a sack of potatoes. That's Bhima. So let's try to find out, in fact, is it the Pandavas hiding out in his palace in some way or another? So they sent some warriors and kidnapped some cows, some village cows that belonged to the king. And so the message came to the king. And Arjuna heard the message. But he's a dance teacher. But his weapons were hanging from a tree outside. So he went with King Virat's son, and together the two of them defeated the whole army. So now they knew that's Arjuna. Yes, confirmed. Bhima and Arjuna. So when he came back, Arjuna came back, the father said, wow, you're Arjuna, why don't you marry my daughter? He said, a teacher can't marry his student, but I have a son of marriageable age, and so Abhimanyu was married to Uttara. That's how that happened. And he was only 16 years old, so he was married at a young age, but when the Kurukshetra battle took place. And on the first day of the battle, Abhimanyu was killed, by 7 generals. There's a whole big story of they circled around him in a vyuha, and then you wouldn't let him out, and what's his name? Jayadratha. Jayadratha was assigned to keep the other Pandavas out so they could kill Abhimanyu. And then Arjuna took a vow, I'm going to kill Abhimanyu, or Jayadratha. So Uttara's pregnancy, Uttara was the wife of Abhimanyu, and Abhimanyu, they had a child who was still in the womb at the beginning of the battle. And when the beginning of the battle took place, Ashvatthama sent to Brahmastra to kill. And that's the history behind Maharaj Parikshit. Here's another, who was Maharaj Parikshit? When he was in the womb, it was known that he was a great devotee, but if he was a great devotee in the womb, who was he before that? Answer, not known. Again, research and other learned devotees. He was a great devotee with unknown origin. Uttara offered prayers to Krishna, and with the prayers to Krishna, here's the prayer, Krishna saved Maharaj Parikshit from the Brahmastra of Ashvatthama. Oh my Lord, you are all-powerful, fiery arrow, iron arrow is coming towards me fast. My Lord, let it burn me personally if you so desire, but please do not let it burn and abort my embryo. Please do me this favor, my Lord. So sure enough, because the Brahmastra is invincible, so Krishna himself personally came and stopped the Brahmastra from burning the embryo within the womb. So that's another name, because this whole topic is names of Maharaj Parikshit. So Viraha, because of his natural courage, he was not afraid of fire, even the Brahmastra weapon. Here's the verse indicating this characteristic of him. Another name, Vishnu Ratha, always protected by Vishnu. Prabhupada named one of his disciples Vishnu Ratha. Bharata, indicating he is descendant of Bharata, without the long A. Who is Bharata? Any of you know? Ninth Canto Bhagavatam. He was the son of Dushmanta and Shakuntala. And that's a long, not Bhagavatam history. But he has said, he was a partial incarnation of the Supreme Lord. When he was a little boy, he was left by the king in the forest with Shakuntala. And he was so powerful that he would play with, like little boys would play with cats and kittens and puppies and things. He would play with lions and tigers, just toss them around and playful. Very, very powerful. So that's Bharata. Same, Arjuna is sometimes in Bhagavad Gita. He's also indicated as Osayan of Bharata. Osayan of Bharata. It's Bharata. Descendant of Bharata. Vrika Nrishu, tiger amongst men. Here's a family chart. Way at the top is Kuru, after whom Kurukshetra is named. And, keep going down and down and down. It's a very busy chart. Let's do this. Parikshit's name is way down here. And Parikshit was the son of Uttara and Abhimanyu. And Abhimanyu was the son of Subhadra and Arjuna. And Arjuna was the son of Kunti and, and Indra. And then you go back up the chart and he's, you get King Kuru at the top. Kuru was the father of Santanu. Santanu, one of Santanu's sons was Bhishma, together with Ganga Devi, and also Satyavati, and Chitrangada, and Vichitravirya, etc. So you all know these pastimes. Yes? With an Indian audience, it's real easy. With a mixed audience, it's a little different. So here's a little bit of when he was born, there was an astrological chart conducted, and it's really fantastic. What was said by the astrologer about the birth of Maharaj Parikshit, when he was born, because Yudhisthira, they had just one surviving descendant, grandson, because their sons had been killed, and so just the grandson. And so when he was born, Yudhisthira wanted to have a big festival, giving in charity, and have the super astrologers predict, "Oh, great souls, will he become a saintly king, as pious as his very name, and as famous and glorified in his achievements and others who appeared in this great royal family?" So then they're going to list his characteristics. "This child shall be exactly like King Ikshvaku, son of Manu, in maintaining all those who are born." That's pretty good quality. "As for following Brahminical principles, especially in being true to his promise, he shall be exactly like Rama, the personality of Godhead, the son of Maharaj Dasarath." So when he gave his word, it was good. "This child will be a munificent donor of charity and protector of the surrendered, like the famous King Shibi." Now, there's a more modern, more recent presentation on this topic, and I wish I had pulled it up instead of this one, because it shows Maharaj Shibi. Maharaj Shibi, what was he famous for? He was charitable And one time he had a dove in his hand, and an eagle or a hawk came and wanted to eat the dove, and he persuaded the dove. But it was a test, because this is demigods heard about the charitable nature, so they wanted to test his charitable nature. So they appeared as a hawk, and said, if you don't want us to take that dove, then you have to give us flesh. So with a knife, he cut the flesh off his body and fed it to the hawk. Charitable. It was a pigeon. Anyway, yeah. He will expand the name and fame of his family like Bharata, the son of Dushmanta. So Dushmanta was a king, and his son Bharata he inherited the throne from Dushmanta. It was an interesting, how all that happened. But he ruled very virtuously, partial incarnation of the Supreme Lord. And in this way, he spread the name and fame of the royal family. Amongst great bowmen, this child will be as good as Arjuna. That's pretty good. He will be irresistible as fire, as unsurpassable as the ocean, as strong as a lion, as worthy a shelter as the Himalaya mountains, forbearing like the earth, this is his birth forecast, as tolerant as a mother and father toward their child. He will be like his grandfather Yudhishthira or Brahma in equanimity of mind, munificent like the Lord of Kailash, Lord Shiva, almost as good as Lord Sri Krishna by following in his footsteps, as magnanimous as King Rantidev, the charitable nature of Rantidev. I don't need to narrate that. You all know that, Rantidev. Here's one of the primary things told about him, or narrated about him, is sometimes he would fast and then break the fast. The fast was for the purpose of gaining spiritual merit, which he was intending that they would be distributed to his citizens. So on behalf of the citizens, he was undergoing austerity. He underwent a 40-day fast. 40-day fast. And at the end of the 40 days, there's a royal feast to break the fast. And as he was sitting down to break the fast, you know the story, a hungry man came, a beggar came. I'm hungry. Sure, take half, and left the other half. And there was the other half came, then there was a man with puppies. And the man with puppies said, my puppies are hungry. Can I have something to feed my puppies? Sure, take the other half. Then he had something to drink. Then a man was thirsty. And then he gave the water, break the fast with water. 40-day fast. He gave the water to the thirsty man with a declaration that what better thing can one do than sacrifice for the welfare of others? And those three, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, indicated, we were the ones testing you. We heard about your magnanimity. So he'll be as magnanimous as Rantidev, as religious as Maharaj Yayati, another one of the royal family members, like Bali Maharaj in patience, like Prahlad Maharaj in devotion. That's quite a credential in one person, huh? After hearing about his death, which will be caused by the bite of a snake bird sent by a son of a Brahmana, he will get himself freed from all material attachment and surrender unto the personality of Godhead, taking shelter of him after All this is his prognosis at birth. After inquiring about the proper self-knowledge from the son of Vyasadeva, who will be a great philosopher, he will renounce all material attachments and achieve a life of fearlessness. From his childhood, this is Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath saying, he would play, your children will play, but his play was the pastimes of Krishna. And he had other children his same age, and he was the director of dramas with his friends. And they would play Krishna pastimes in Vrindavan. Sridhar Swami writes, and they had a family deity, Krishna deity, and he imitated, as a small child, the worship of the Krishna deity. Now, there are many nice things to say. He had kingly responsibilities. He met life's adversities. All these four items are particularly noted. And gosh, 7:30. They'll take one of these four, and tomorrow we'll start with number 2. Kingly responsibilities. Maharaj Parikshit conquered all parts of the earthly planet and exacted tributes from their respective rulers. So he is powerful. He maintained the kingdom, he established the kingdom and maintained the kingdom. And one of the things that he did, the celebrated thing that he did, was when he was on tour, he saw a fellow, a black man, beating the legs of the bull. This is the BBT painting. You see his legs are broken. 3 of his 4 legs were broken, and he was smashing the other 4th leg with a club. When he saw this, Maharaj Parikshit immediately drew his sword. You know the story. And the personality of Kali fell at his feet. I'm a surrendered soul, you're the king, you protect those that surrender unto you, please protect me. Spare my life. So, what to do? Okay, I'll spare your life. But where will I stay? Well, you can stay where these 4 sinful activities are going on. But there's no sinful activities in your kingdom. Where there's hoarding of gold, you can stay there because there'll be sinful activities where there's hoarding of gold. Ah, very good. So this is Canto 1 Bhagavatam message, but this is one of his powers, the protecting of, there's this painting is showing the 4 sinful activities. I don't know what the dice game. You recognize that? Gambling. I don't know what that one is. Stopping the personality of Kali. He had real care for the citizens, because a good king will not only conquer other nations or other territories, but he will give protection. And an example of his protectiveness, when he heard from Sukadeva Goswami about the perils of the upcoming age of Kali, he wanted to know what to do. Because there's not yet Kali Yuga. And for people in Kali Yuga, what can be done to prevent them from having to suffer? Please let me know what a man should hear, chant, remember, and worship, and also what he should not do. Please explain all this to me. He was concerned about the welfare of others in difficulty. This came after, in Canto 5, there's a description of Vedic cosmology. And towards the very end of Canto 5, there's a description of the hellish planets. And Prabhupada would speak on this. So the beginning of Canto 6, he wants to know. he's about to die, and he wants to know, what about these people that are in those hellish planets? Is there something that can be done to relieve them of that suffering? And he's about to die. Because this is the nature of a qualified person, certainly the nature of Maharaj Parikshit. He's about to die and concerned about the welfare of others who are in suffering conditions. That's the nature of a qualified person, the nature of Maharaj Parikshit, nature of a Vaishnava. Like our founder Acharya. He sacrificed and sacrificed and sacrificed, and his health was... something I heard from Hari Sori, I didn't know. One time we were sitting next to one another, having prasadam. It was a Dwadasi, after fasting for Ekadasi. So we're sitting together next to one another. And I asked him some question about what was Prabhupada's practice in observing Ekadasi. So he was describing. And then Hari Sori was motioning to some pain in his back, and I asked, "What's that?" And he said, Prabhupada, regularly Prabhupada would take a massage. Then he just went off into this Prabhupada story about he took massage not for enjoyment or pleasure, but he had one kidney that didn't work at all, and another kidney that was half working. And one of the functions of kidneys is it takes toxins from the body and eliminates them through urine. It's one of the functions of a kidney, one of the primary functions. And his weren't working. So his body was always in pain. So the massage was to move the toxins that had accumulated in his body because they weren't being eliminated otherwise in this, in this method of, very strong massage. And he made a point. Prabhupada didn't want padding. He wanted, he wanted strong hands to take care of the massage. And then when he went to London and he was on this journey, he had a surgery on his kidneys because it just wasn't working. It was too much pain. Hari Sori said only twice. Prabhupada was he hit his Prabhupada button. He just kept going. He was always in pain. Only twice, because there was a system where Hari Sori or whoever was his servant was in another room, and Prabhupada had a little bell, usually underneath his desk, so people would come and they wouldn't see a bell on his desk. So he would just press the bell, and the bell would ring in his room, and that would be the signal to come. So one night, at like 2 o'clock in the morning, the bell rang. So he quickly, washed his mouth and face, and they come before Prabhupada, paid obeisances. Prabhupada had his chadar over his head, and his whole body was trembling. And Prabhupada said, "I'm in too much pain. I can't translate." He said that only happened twice. He was always in pain, severe pain, but so that he couldn't translate. I mean, what Prabhupada went through for us, it's superhuman, unimaginable, or not ordinary, at least. But it was just the order of his spiritual master and seeing the suffering of others. Because when people are in ignorance, they do ignorant things. And the ignorant things bring suffering. Without exception. So he wanted that people not suffer. So anyway, this is one of the characteristics of Maharaj Parikshit. We'll hear about the other 3 characteristics tomorrow. And I think we'll have some improved graphics. Let's see if there's some discussion on this topic.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah.
Maharaj, in one of the previous slides, you mentioned that, I mean, at least the slide said that there were 40,000 saints who were witnessing
Yeah.
the
That was a big
recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam. So was it heart-to-heart recitation or was it loud? Because you also mentioned that there was no mic.
Amplification.
Yes.
I don't know what technology, how it was done. He must have had a good voice. I mean, that's a lot of people. It's a lot of people. But that's what the Bhagavatam says, so I just read what the Bhagavatam says. Now, your question is how did he convey his voice and with so many people? I don't know. I don't know.
Thank you, Maharaj.
No question, but in the one.
Huh? No. Okay. Okay, well then, Srila Prabhupada ki? Jai.